Hi, I'm Karen Lobrovich, author of Inner Peace, The Soul Self-Remembered. Hello everybody, long time no see. Today's topic is one that I hear a lot. It's about changing. How do I really change? So, based on Andre's work, anybody can change. It's not easy. Based on the premise of the book, habit-based decisions are based in the personality self, past experiences. And the soul self decisions are in the moment. In other words, you're just in this moment. You're not basing the decision you're about to make in any past experience or fear of the future. You're just in this moment. So those are the premises for this work. Change isn't easy because we're habit-based persons. That's how we function on the earth plane. We don't want to get rid of our habits. But my thought is, how can I shift my habits to be more conducive to a more joy-filled life? But I have a story for you first. It's a Cherokee story. A grandfather's talking to his grandson, and the grandfather says, there's a war going inside our heads. Two wolves are fighting. One wolf represents evil, anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, false pride, and I add negative self-talk. The other is good: joy, peace, love, hope, sincerity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, compassion, and faith. And I add self-love and appreciation to that one. So the fight is going on inside of you, he says to his grandson. And it's a really horrible fight. And the grandson thinks about it, and then he says, well, which one is going to win? And grandfather says, the one you feed, the wolf you feed. So even back then, we knew that we encourage or grow certain parts of ourselves. Sometimes we do it knowingly, and sometimes we do it without realizing it. So that's what we want to do. We want to look at some steps that we can take, maybe label some of the issues that we're having, and see how far we can go with this. The battle could be considered an addiction. I truly feel that I could go to an NA or an AA meeting and say, when it's my turn to talk, hi, my name is Karen, and I have addiction to negative self-talk. I have addiction to thoughts that make me feel bad. I am addicted to allowing myself to be around people who do not lift me up or bring me good feelings, pulling me down. I'm addicted to that. I am addicted to that. Even though I teach this, I have overcome so much, but yet I still go back to my habits of negative self-talk, or bringing up something in my head that happened years ago that brings me down. That is an addiction. The informal definition of addiction is enthusiastic devotee of a specific thing or activity. But just like an addict for drugs or alcohol or any of the other issues that people may have, it's not easy. You're changing a behavior of your brain, which has been ingrained to do the activity that you're now deciding is no longer useful for you. So the steps that a drug addict or an alcoholic goes through in these groups kind of are very similar to what you and I would need to do to reduce our dependence or our habitual thoughts, our addiction to the thoughts that do no longer bring us joy or that do not create the environment that we want in our lives. These thoughts bring us down. We get into doldrums, be it what's going on around in the world causing this fluctuation of or flaming the fire of negative thinking. It's not difficult to get there. I think many of us assume that people who are able to get there periodically stay like that. I don't. I certainly don't. I have to fight the fight. I have to feed the wolf that I want to be in the foremost of my mind, my thoughts. The first step number 1, own it. And by owning it, I mean you have to accept, embrace the fact that you have this habit, that you create the habit, you manifest it, you feed it. You have to own the part of you that you want to change. Just like an addict, they have to realize, hey, they've reached bottom or they haven't, and they have decided, I no longer want to do this. This activity no longer serves me. You have to do the same thing for this habit of negative thinking or downward spiral thinking. I call it that because spirals can become very powerful. And so if you don't own that you have this issue, if you don't say, it is me, it's on me to change, it is not on my spouse to help me do this, or it's not on my friends and family, they're causing this. No, it's you. It's your habit. And so once you look at it in the face and say, this is something that I do in response to X, that's fine, but you're still the one doing it. It's not somebody doing it to you. Nobody makes you think a certain way. It's all a choice. So the faster you come to terms with the fact that I'm in this mood a lot, I'm down. Why? Well, I'm doing it to me for some reason. I don't know the reason, I'm doing it. So that's step number 1. I own the fact that I'm doing it to me. No one's doing it to me. When you own it and you say, this is the behavior I no longer want, then come up with a behavior that you do like, something to get you out of that spiral, something that flings you out of the negative spiral into a neutral place maybe. You don't have to be going down, up, down, up. You just want to be neutral. Get your footing, figure out where you are. So what types of things can you do when you are in a negative spiral? The world is overwhelming to you, or your behaviors, you're mad at yourself because you're still doing X. Think of something. So have something predetermined. Have something that you say, okay, I usually feel really good when I have this thought. For me, it's baby shoes. Those little bitty baby shoes that you see in the store. They're not that small. They're probably that big. But they're so perfect and they're so complete. In other words, they're completely formed. And the detail is just amazing. So I find joy in thinking about baby shoes. They're kind of funny in a way. They fit these little bitty feet. The babies really never, ever, ever remember them. And they're dysfunctional because the baby doesn't walk. So, it's just, I don't know, there's something joyful about it. Another thought might be a hummingbird. I really like hummingbirds. My husband and I have hummingbird feeders, and I can remember the hummingbird coming down and looking at me right here. You know, he's trying to figure out who's close to his feeder probably. Or the butterflies. You go to a butterfly exhibit and the butterflies are flying all over, and one of them actually comes and lands on your shoulder, and it brings you some joy that you can find and think about and create that energy. So what you're doing is you're saying, I'm down, but I don't want to be down. Oh, those baby shoes. And you step into the energy that you had when you were looking at those baby shoes, or the butterfly landing on your shoulder. So you're remembering that energy. That is real. You can shift back to an energy that you enjoyed. So maybe yours is walking on the beach or looking at the stars at night. All you have to do is find the energy of that situation, and it will shift your current energy. It isn't a magical thing. We are energy-based beings of light. So it stands to reason that when we are in a happy environment and we're full of joy, we're exuding energy. When we're in a negative place, when we're kind of withdrawn or pulled in, we have to remember we're exuding energy. We're always filled with energy. And once you make the choice to radiate energy of light and love, you're simply saying, I want to feel this. Because as soon as you're feeling something, anything negative, positive, neutral, you're exuding it. So it's not like you have to say, today I'm going to transmit love and light everywhere I go. I mean, that's a fun intention to have. But in reality, be love and light, and you automatically project it. And that's what we're talking about today is I want to maintain a state of connection with the all that is. I want to be in a place of joy. I don't want to be in a negative place. Well, you really only have to shift your thoughts. It's all about the thoughts, all about the thoughts. All you need to do is say, oh, that butterfly landed on my shoulder. Oh, that was the prettiest butterfly. And your energy patterns change around you. Now, you thought about that butterfly and you shifted and you're excited about it. Hey, this works. How cool is that? So, how long can you stay that way? That's the trick, isn't it? So, what I tell people is this. You may need to force yourself, trigger yourself. You may need to do something to remind yourself to get back there. And it may be twice a day. It may be 500,000 times a day. You're constantly going, oh wait, I'm there again. Baby shoes, butterflies, you know. And so you're like, oh my gosh, I did not know how many times a day I get sucked back into my habit of negative thinking. Some people might say, you know, great, give you a grade on that. Well, you had to think of baby shoes 500,000 times today. You're a failure. I have to say the opposite. 500,000 times today, you were aware. You were in awareness of where you were. That's success. You're not oblivious to what's going on. Who cares how many times a day you have to pull yourself back? Who cares? The fact of the matter is, that you're aware of your energy is the secret. There's a secret, see? So the secret of knowing when you want to think of your trigger, your joyful trigger. It could be your grandfather when you were a kid. It could be your granddaughter's face laughing in the sand, running. Whatever it is, whatever you choose. You don't want to just think of the picture of it. You want to feel the energy of that happy place. And that will shift your physical energy for that moment. Now, you don't want to have to constantly say, baby shoes, baby shoes, baby shoes, baby shoes. No, that's not where we're going with this. But we want to do it like the balloon example I gave you. You just pop it up once in a while. Oh, I'm joyful. You force your attention to what you want to be. And you may stay there for 30 minutes working on a project with joy, or walking on the street with joy, or on the side of the street, riding your bicycle, physically doing something, and your brain is not going into the bad places that you're trying to stay away from. I'm not watching the news right now. I don't need to be in the news, that negative energy. I want to stay lifted. I want to stay in the moment. I want to be a happy person. So happy people are also like this, I promise you. Nobody stays high. It's almost inhuman to stay high. People just can't do it. So the fact that you identify when you've fallen to a place you don't want to be, you've chosen, no one's chosen it for you, you've chosen not to stay hanging out in this area. By doing that, you're in the moment, just by realizing it. And that's so important. Now, let's say you are going about your business of the day and you look back and you say, oh my goodness, I've been in this bad thought process for 2 hours. That's fine. You're aware of it. So what I'm trying to say is, don't negative self-talk yourself for finding out how much you stay in a negative place. You want to stay in a place of awareness. And that's the success of this. It is an addiction. So like a person who is an addict, like you and I are thinking with the AA or NA, this is not something you change overnight. And it may be something you struggle with your entire life, because the body has habits, the mind has habits, and you're trying to replace a habit. One of the most common things that addicts have is triggers. So you and I have triggers. So we're talking about emotional triggers that may make you have negative self-talk or bring your mood down or whatever you want to call it. So the triggers. An alcoholic is a trigger would be going into a bar, let's say, and everyone's drinking and laughing and, whatever. So when you're in a group like NA or AA, you learn pretty quick what your triggers are. And then your helpers, your sponsors, would be people that help you mentally figure out how to avoid them in a joyful way, not in a way, bad, you're bad. No, you can't do that. You have to love yourself. I'm an addict, but I love me. Karen, is an addict of negative self-talk. I'm an addict of allowing myself to be pulled down maybe by the news or by the current events. Instead of being transparent to it, I'm allowing it to be a trigger. So a trigger. I now know that if I watch the news, I have to be in a special spot. I have to be in a very solid, open space so that I can be transparent to the negative things that would have normally bothered me. This is a choice. This is a predetermined thing that I have to do. I have to be ready to watch the news. I cannot just innocently sit in front of the TV and watch the news and not expect it to bother me. The world is always going to have chaos. The world is always going to have bad things happening because humans are in it, and that's part of the human condition. So when I see something bad or negative on the news, I'm building a wall. I don't want that. No, this is wrong. I'm judging. I'm saying these are evil things that are going on. I'm wasting all this energy in saying this should not be. The truth of the matter is, if it isn't that, it will be something. There always will be chaos. There always will be crazy things happening. It's not that you give up. It's that you say, the human condition is complicated, and I choose to focus on the goodness in the world. So when I get into my addiction of negative thinking, allowing my mood to be brought down, I stop and say, oh, that's a trigger. So I need, if I'm going to expose myself to the news, and I'm just picking this, you could pick your family members that bring you down, or your, whatever. But I'm saying the news because it's very concrete. So when I turn on the TV, I need to prepare myself. I need to take a deep breath and say, the world is a little crazy, but I do want to be up on the current events, if that's what you want. Some people just avoid it. And that's pretty much what I've been doing. Sometimes I can handle it, and sometimes I can't. So if you know that something is about to trigger you, if you go into a situation that always brings you down, but you feel that you need to be exposed to it for whatever reason, maybe it's your job, maybe it's your, your home environment, get yourself in the right space before you expose yourself. Now, how long can you stay in that space? That's the trick, isn't it? I'm sometimes very successful. I finish the news and I was good. It's not bothering me at all. And other times, no. I fail. Fail? Is that a word? No. Sometimes I allow my energy to be shifted, by external situations. Now, external can be face-to-face. External could be thought. I'm hearing this old thought because of that thing that happened to me years ago, or that thing that I did years ago. I feel down about it. Again, thought is energy. So as you are aware of your triggers, you become more powerful to control or to influence your energy. To be able to say, there's a chance that when I do X, that I will fall into my addiction of living in this negative downward spiral energy. It is very powerful. See, that's the thing about it, is that negative energy has a tremendous amount of power, vibration. And if you grew up with this, you're going to be attracted to it. I mean, that stands to reason. You're familiar with it. It's grounding. But as an adult, you're now saying, I really, really, really want to see if I can expose myself to these triggers and be able to stay neutral. Now, neutral isn't upward spiral. Neutral is just, I'm doing good. Yeah, I can do this. You don't have to be high all the time to be successfully in a state of joy. And I think that was something that was really bothering me for a long time, is I would look at other people that are happy and they're laughing, and I would say, I want to be like them. How come I can't do that all the time? Well, the fact of the matter is they really don't do it all the time. That, I don't think, is a natural way to be as a human in this world. Their base energy flow can be upward spiral, absolutely. But they go from neutral to high to neutral to high, maybe a bad day, neutral, high. So if you judge yourself, like I was and am and do, that I am not staying in a state of highness, upward spiral energy, joy-filled, butterfly flowing around me and flying, and or a seagull coming by. That's probably a normal way to be. It's probably normal to be more neutral. And then you put your toe in the joy part, the joy energies. And then you may put your feet in the joy energies and maybe a couple of steps into the joy-filled energies. And you can stay there for a while. And then you go to the downward spiral energies. And as soon as you realize it, you go, oh, hey, let's not do that, personality self. Let's stay in the more neutral upward spiral energies. Again, it's a choice. You have to make it. Nobody can do it for you. And it's a minute-to-minute thing. It's a soul self attachment to the energies around you. It is not something that you just sit in and go, finally I'm here. It's a work in progress. But I believe, and what I've seen other people, the more you do it, the less work it is. The less thinking, the less energy you have to put into identifying that I'm in a downward spiral, going back to a neutral space, and then finding a joy-filled space. Those are the steps. You're not building walls against the negative energies. That's a habit that you really can't win doing. Find what triggers you. Find the energies that you no longer respect or want or embrace, and replace them with something good. Don't do this. It doesn't work. When you expose yourself to a trigger, your goal could be transparency. Allow that person to be crazy. Allow that memory to be negative or crazy and just chaotic. And be transparent to it and find your footing in neutral or upward spiral energies. That's what I'm after anyway. So what I'm trying to do is say, I want to have a new addiction. I'm human, and habits are part of my beingness. And you can call habits as addictions because you're craving them. I crave joy in my life. I crave inner peace. I crave being comfortable in my own skin with who I am right now. I want to bring joy to myself, and by doing that, you bring it to others. You know, some people talk about bringing joy to other people. You can't do that. You just can't if you're not joy-filled yourself. Focus on yourself first. Love yourself. Remember, some of our homework has been looking in the mirror saying, I love you. I love you. Be silly with it. Fall in love with yourself, because the second you are in love with yourself, your energy has shifted. Hey, that could be one of your thoughts. Remembering how you looked in the mirror and saw yourself and loved yourself. When you love yourself, you're automatically in a state of joy. You're automatically connected to the all that is, which also connects you to upward spiral flow. It isn't an overnight thing, but it's not impossible either. You want to love yourself when you're feeling low, and it brings you up to neutral, and then hopefully you can go into an upward spiral. Judging yourself for any type of negative behavior or negative talk to others isn't necessary. An awareness of it and saying, ooh, you know, that just isn't something I want to do anymore. That is much more healthy than saying, God, I can't believe I did that again. That is stupid. I am so stupid. Don't go there. Don't go there. Take each day. You can look at it after the day has passed and say, you know, I did pretty good. Not so hot here and here, but overall, I did well. That's what we're after. We're after that overall, I did pretty good. I'm kind of proud of myself. I did really well, despite being exposed to these triggers. Your core energy is perfect. Know in your heart of hearts, know in your core that you really are perfect, despite the energy you're creating around you. You're an extension of the all that is. You are loved more than you can even imagine. Sometimes when I feel that I'm not on the upward spiral or I'm not neutral, I'll call out to my guides. And because I work so much with my guides, I can feel their presence. Like right now, I mean, I'm totally going, "Ooh." When I feel the presence of my guides, I feel this enormous love, this enormous acceptance of me as I am. Not, if you would only do this, we could love you a lot more. I don't get that. You know, I don't get that. It's no matter where I am, no matter what I'm thinking or what my energy signature is looking like, they're in a state of awe and love and embracing me. And I have problems with thinking that way. I mean, I think most of us do. How can anything love us despite what we've done or are doing or plan to do? How can any entity or how can any energy think that we're okay? And the fact of the matter is, they see us for what we really are. They're not looking at that pimple on your nose. They're looking at you as an energy signal. They're looking at you, your core, which is more perfect than anything you and I can ever even imagine. So if one of your thoughts to bring you uplifting joy or put you in a good space, maybe that could be one of them. Your angels and guides around you in a state of, like you're looking at a baby in a crib that when you first bring it home from the hospital and you just can't get enough of staring at that baby. That's the way they do us. And that's enough to say, you know, I must be worth something to somebody. I'm going to work on my negative self-talk. I am going to have a new addiction, the addiction of loving myself. And in doing that, I can love others. I can have a light about me that attracts goodness into my life. But until I shift my energy patterns, till I shift my thinking, I can't create that in my life. The people who are the most successful are the ones that stay neutral, up, a little bit of down. Again, my goal isn't this. That would be exhausting, don't you think? That would just be absolutely exhausting to try to stay in a place of all the time. No, that's not where I want to be. Where I want to be is, I love me. And in doing that, I can love you. My addictions of negative self-talk are minimal. My addiction of negative energies are minimal. And I find that I can step into joy-filled spaces so easily by simply shifting my thinking for a moment. And that brings the next thought of joy or peace. Thank you so much for being with me today. I love talking to you guys. You're my besties. And you can email me if you have questions about anything I've said or have ever said. If you have questions about the book, get my email address from Stephen or Kimberly. They'll be happy to give it to you. And no question is a stupid one, because I love me and I love you. Bye.